How do women artists create a voice of justice? I'm Gigi Gregory, and this is my dissertation proposal. I have a theory that the answer to this question is found by the spirit of feminist artists who are immersed in the roots of their lives and the development of their practices, allowing their art to speak for itself. With persistency and power to communicate in this way, I believe that they were the first to correctly represent the potentials women artists have in the realms of justice. Through empowering the self of the female artist, they made change a possibility, and my primary objective is to expand on how they did so. I aim to discover how their influence is encouraging the female artists of today to make that change more than a possibility. As an artist, my practice focuses on expressing a sustainable self that derives from an inner form of completeness. With the primary use of ink, I've always depicted matters of the heart around the image of an empowered female figure whose strength is reinforced by a self-claimed art world. It is because of my work that I've researched the emergence of women artists and been so interested in their profound story in the history of art. Women artists who were once so easily forgotten now have a voice that I believe has the potential to fight matters of injustice. And this is where my research question begins. How does that happen? And how do women artists create a voice of justice? How do they communicate change through creativity? My case study centralizes the life of the Cuban-American artist Ana Mendieta. Her survival in the arts, as I call it, epitomizes one of the many upcoming voices of justice that was elevated by the arts. In 1961, Mendieta was separated from her mother in Cuba due to the communist outbreak in Fidel Castro's dictatorship. 14,000 children, including Ana and her sister Raquel, immigrated to the United States between mid-November 1960 and October 1962. After having endured years of alienation between different orphanages and foster homes, Ana's destiny was driven by her desire to study art at the University of Iowa, where she found herself through the discovery of the arts causing a complete turnaround in her life. I will be discussing how the events in Mendieta's life caused her to evolve as an artist, expanding on how her courage curated her profession and projected the truths of her life. Her body of work formed a supportive structure for herself where she could nurture her inner pain, and this is the quality that intrigues me the most. From her early feminist works to her meaningful Silhouette series, she stamped the art world with the evidence that survival through art is real. She fought for the rights of herself and for others, and once she said, "My art is grounded in one universal energy which runs through everything." I personally believe that energy is the thread that ties her together with the feminist artists that found her work in the 1970s and made her feel that pushing boundaries was possible. And I believe that this energy was also the cause of her never needing that permission to express the pain of injustice. Ana's work is poignant and powerful. In her early years, she confronted problems of violence, rape, domestic issues, and gender inequalities. From the 1970s onwards, her connection with nature grew stronger than ever, which was evident in her work, turning her into a pioneer of earth art. Nancy Spero, one of the leading feminist artists of the era, was breathtaking by her creations and recruited her as a member of Air Gallery, the first women's cooperative gallery in New York City, where Ana had her first exhibition in 1979. Fully immersed in the awareness of herself and the women's movement, she could express her whole feelings about humanity, about politics, about society in general, and women's issues that were fighting for certain rights not only for herself, but for other people as well. However, whether the feminist influence created her life-changing encouragement is debatable. Was it the influence of the feminist artist, or was it her pure dedication to her practice, deriving from the natural quality of a woman artist in the making? Nancy Spero once said, "She was very dedicated. That was the prime motivating force in her life." So this is why I chose Ana Mendieta as my primary case study, because I wish to expand on this force of hers, this power of dedication to express the self that may lead to constructive change. From the history of the male-dominated art world that suppressed the forgotten women artists of the late 19th century, I will be analysing how prominent their presence is today compared to the past, and address the specific examples of how these individuals gain their own justice through the result of their artistic work, by reflecting upon their traits and social-cultural situations. Whilst doing this, my intention is to see where these singular and united voices of justice transpired into stories bigger than themselves. I will also be debating whether feminists achieved their goals or if it was their presence that outpowered their aims and surpassed their time. By studying the lives of these women and those before them, I can get closer to understanding the justice that was served and the injustice that remains today and why. The reason for doing this, apart from bettering the future of my own practice, is to comprehend what the stakes are for women like myself, Anna Mendieta, and all feminists that felt the need to make a supportive system for themselves or others through art. My inquiries and curiosities multiply around the reality of art institutions and art as a mode of survival. Where is art made by women serving justice in the world today? Is feminism a bad memory? How will women artists be represented in the future, and which women artists are making a difference now? Can art truly speak for itself? And where does Anna Mendieta's life lay in the importance of the past and present of feminist art? Is personal art more than just a key to political issues? These directions of my future studies will commence with the knowledge inside key pieces of literature of the feminist art movement, such as Arlene Raven's feminist art criticism, and Linda Notchland's writings and more. From here, I will see where these references take me. Whilst I extend my knowledge on the foundation of this topic, I will simultaneously be studying in detail the life and death of Anna Mendieta, to define my thoughts on her life as much as her controversial death. For the development of my dissertation, I'm aspiring to interview and interact with individuals that can provide me with pieces of their experiences. Lynn Hirschman-Leeson is an artist and director of the film Women Art Revolution. With her story and her knowledge, I would love to engage with her vision of today compared to her history as an important feminist artist. Amar Singh is a London-based human rights activist for women and LGBT+ rights. He has worked with the Guerrilla Girls and, as a friend of mine, has inspired me to continue my studies in this field. I would love to get him on board to find out some statistics of today's top art institutions and talk about the women making a difference today. Svitlana Martinuk is the founder of All She Makes magazine, a relatively new publication that unites women artists into sharing their work in both a digital and physical place. By talking to her, I'd love to find out how she perceives her own representation of women artists and ask her about where she envisions the future of the females she's representing. For the rest of this year up until June of next year, I will be prioritising my self-initiated business project and professional placement for my diploma in professional studies. However, during this time, I will clarify my thoughts on my case study in preparation for heavier research. In June 2022, I will start developing my research around the foundation of my chosen argument and will commence a variety of interactions and interviews with relative people. In the year of my dissertation proposal, I hope to have written more than half of my research theories, to use the time to finalise my own individual voice of justice for future women artists and Anna Mendieta. I will end this proposal with a quote by Lynn Lester that inspired me. The personal became political, and the very personal became art. Thank you for listening.